From the Sentinelese tribe living on North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal, to the Chukchi tribe in northeastern Siberia, who fought intense battles with the Russian Cossacks trying to take their land. These tribes live by their own rules, fiercely guarding their territories from outsiders. In this video, you'll discover the 30 most dangerous tribes on the planet, determined to remain isolated from the rest of the world. Number 30. The Sentinelese. Not many groups are as wrapped in mystery and danger as the Sentinelese of North Sentinel Island, part of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in India. They're famously unfriendly to outsiders, and this secretive group has kept their lifestyle pretty much unchanged with barely any contact with the outside world for around 60,000 years. They stand their ground when it comes to keeping people away, reacting strongly to anyone trying to come onto their island. Because of this, the Indian government has set up a strict no-go area around their island. This area helps keep the tribe safe from outside dangers, and also protects anyone else from getting hurt. The Sentinelese made worldwide news in 2018 after a very sad event involving John Allen Chow, an American missionary. He went onto their island illegally, even though it was forbidden. This wasn't a one-off. The tribe has a history of using deadly force to defend their independence, like in 2006 when they killed 2 fishermen who accidentally got too close to their island. Their deep distrust comes from a long past filled with violent clashes, especially during British colonial times. Back then, some tribe members were taken away and got sick from new diseases, which killed many. These harsh experiences have made them very determined to keep outsiders away, making them one of the most mysterious and tough tribes to connect with in the world. Number 29. The Asmat. Speaking of a tribe that has a pretty intense warrior reputation, the Asmat people from southwestern Papua in Indonesia indeed fit the description. Historically, they practiced headhunting and even cannibalism, which were deeply tied to their spiritual beliefs. In order to satisfy YouTube guidelines, we have blurred part of this footage. They believed that if someone in their tribe died, for any reason, they needed to seek revenge through headhunting. Afterward, they'd have big ceremonies and meals, which included a chilling dish of their enemies' brains mixed with sago grubs to celebrate life and death. The Asmat lived mostly cut off from the rest of the world until the 20th century, when Europeans first stumbled upon them. But it wasn't until the 1950s, with the arrival of Catholic missionaries, that they started having regular contact with outsiders. These interactions helped mellow some of their more extreme traditions, but even today, the Asmat fiercely protect their cultural heritage and traditions. Now, the Asmat are also famous for their incredible wood carvings. This craft is highly valued and brings in admirers and buyers from all over the world. Number 28. The Apache tribe. The Apache tribe has one of the most intense reputations in history, known for their incredible skills in battle. They were masters at guerrilla warfare, a style of fighting that involves surprising the enemy and then disappearing quickly. This made them really tough opponents during the European colonization and the expansion of America that lasted for hundreds of years. They knew the tough landscapes of the Southwest, like its deserts and mountains, inside out, and used this knowledge to carry out sudden attacks on their enemies. They were led by some legendary leaders like Geronimo, Cochise, and Mangus Coloradas. Under their leadership, the Apache pulled off many successful attacks against both Mexican and American forces. Their deep understanding of their homeland and their quick-hit tactics kept them as a constant threat. Their strength in battle came not just from their physical abilities, but also from their smart strategies and a strong connection to their land. Their fight to resist outsiders went on until the late 19th century, only coming to an end after long and intense military actions by the US Army. Despite their fierce reputation, the Apache had a strong community bond, rich cultural traditions, and incredible resilience that helped them stand up against huge challenges from the outside world. Number 27. The Yali tribe. There are some groups of people out there who are just fascinating and tough, and the Yali are one of them. They live up in the mountains of Papua, Indonesia, and even though they're not very tall, most of the men are under 5 feet. These guys are incredibly strong. They have to be because the mountains they call home are steep and tricky to move around in. Until about the mid-1900s, hardly anyone else went into their territory because the Yali had such a fierce reputation. Back in their prime, the Yali were warriors who nobody wanted to mess with. They were known for being super tough in fights, and they even had some pretty scary practices like eating their enemies and crushing their bones into powder. They believed doing this would stop the defeated warriors from haunting them. These weren't just random brutal acts, they were a big part of the Yali's culture and their spiritual beliefs, meant to protect their community and get rid of dangers. Even today, the Yali stick pretty closely to their traditional ways. The men wear something called a koteka, and the women wear skirts made of reeds. Sure, some modern clothes like t-shirts and pants have found their way there, but those are just on the surface. Number 26. The Yanomami. In the Amazon rainforest, the Yanomami people live across northern Brazil and southern Venezuela. Historically, they're known for not shying away from violence and for a strong resistance to outsiders. There are about 38,000 members who live in numerous villages. Their culture includes some intense practices, like fighting and raiding other groups, which has built up their tough reputation. The Yanomami live in groups called Shabonos, and they mostly keep to themselves, living off the land through slash-and-burn farming, hunting, and gathering. They're dedicated to protecting their ancestral lands and their way of living, which is why they're not very welcoming to outsiders. In the past, when missionaries or explorers showed up, things often turned violent because the Yanomami were very protective of their territory. A big part of their belief system is the idea that the spiritual and natural worlds are closely connected, which plays a huge role in how they take care of the environment. On top of that, their use of hallucinogenic drugs in their rituals makes them appear even more formidable, reinforcing their commitment to defend their culture and land no matter what. Number 25. The Maori. Between the 1100s and 1300s, a tribe sailed across the vast ocean to New Zealand. These were the Maori, the native Polynesian people of New Zealand. They didn't just survive, they thrived and built a strong warrior culture. At the heart of this culture is the haka, an intense war dance meant to scare off enemies and pump up the warriors before battle. They were experts in using traditional weapons like the taiaha, which is kind of like a spear, and the patu, a small but deadly club. Maori warriors followed strict rules in their combat strategies, usually fighting from November to April. They were known for their surprise attacks at dawn, using clever hit-and-run tactics that often left their enemies off balance. Their fortifications, called PA, were brilliantly placed to provide both protection and a tactical edge during fights. But there's more to them than just being great fighters. They were also known for headhunting and cannibalism, which they believed helped them capture the spiritual power of their enemies. Over the years, the Maori put up a fierce fight against European settlers trying to take over their land, leading to the long and intense New Zealand Wars in the 19th century. Number 24. The Moken. For a tribe that excels extraordinarily underwater, the Moken tribe always seems to come first, leading many to call them sea gypsies. These folks sail the waters of the Mergui archipelago in the Andaman Sea, which is right between Burma, now Myanmar, and Thailand. They traditionally live on handmade wooden boats called kabang, which are their homes and also help them move from one island to another depending on the seasons. This way of life lets them fish, gather food from the forest, and avoid the tough monsoon seasons. What's really cool is that the Moken are amazing divers. They can see underwater really well and collect things like sea cucumbers, clams, and other sea goodies without needing modern gear. People have often seen the Moken as mysterious and a bit hard to approach because they live so separately and move around a lot, which made it tough for government folks to keep track of them. Even though they've mostly lived peacefully, they've sometimes been chased down or pushed to stop moving around by the governments of Burma and Thailand, who wanted them to settle down and stop their wandering ways. Today, the Moken's deep understanding of how to live sustainably with the ocean is at risk. They face new rules, environmental harm, and the growing effects of tourism that threaten their way of life. Number 23. The Surma. The Surma, also known as the Suri, are a tribal community living in the tough landscapes of southwestern Ethiopia, right near the turbulent border with South Sudan. They've adapted to thrive under pretty harsh conditions. The Surma are both farmers and herders, heavily relying on cattle, which are central to their economy and way of life. This deep connection to their cattle often leads to intense conflicts with neighboring tribes over the limited grazing lands and essential resources. One of the most striking parts of Surma culture is the Donga, a traditional stick fight that serves as both a coming-of-age ritual for young men and a way to settle disputes. These fights are intense, with the warriors wearing very little and armed just with long wooden poles. The Donga is more than just a display of physical strength. It's an opportunity for young men to show their bravery and gain respect, and it's also a chance to impress potential brides. Additionally, the Surma are known for their dramatic body modifications, like lip plates and detailed scar patterns, which signify beauty and social status within the community. These practices are a deep part of their identity, showcasing their endurance and prestige. Their use of automatic firearms, leftovers from the Sudanese Civil War, further cements the Surma's reputation as formidable fighters. Number 22. The Korowai. If you find yourself in the thick rainforests of southeastern Papua, Indonesia, you may come across a truly fascinating and somewhat mysterious tribe known as the Korowai. They're known for some pretty intense traditions, including cannibalism, and they remained pretty much cut off from the rest of the world until the 1970s. They live in amazing tree houses, built way up high off the ground to stay safe from floods, wild animals, and unfriendly neighboring tribes. Their practice of eating human flesh is tied to their beliefs in kakwa, or witch doctors. In their culture, if someone dies, they often think a kakwa caused it by using evil magic. To get back at the kakwa, they would find the person they thought was responsible, kill them, and then eat them. This was a deep part of their spiritual and cultural beliefs. However, this practice has started to fade in recent years, especially as they've begun interacting more with the outside world and facing legal restrictions. Beyond these intense practices, the Korowai have a rich cultural history, with complex social structures and amazing skills in woodworking. Their unique way of life has caught the attention of many researchers and filmmakers, though this attention has sometimes led to their being taken advantage of and portrayed in exaggerated ways. Number 21. The Huli. Famous for their unique headgear are the Huli from Papua New Guinea, who live in the lush Tari Basin. This isn't just any headgear, it's made from their own hair and decorated with colorful feathers from birds of paradise. They wear these impressive wigs during special events, which really show off their rich cultural background and their identity as warriors. The Huli have a reputation for being fierce, often involved in fights with other tribes. These fights usually start over arguments about land and resources. The men are always ready for a skirmish, armed with homemade rifles, bows, and arrows, and they dress in traditional clothes that include body paint and decorations. This also plays a role in acting as signals that they are always prepared for battle. What adds to their intriguing character is their strong belief in sorcery and witchcraft, which are big parts of their society and culture. These beliefs give them a mysterious and somewhat dangerous air, as accusations of witchcraft can lead to intense and sometimes violent disagreements. Number 20. The Chimbu. The Chimbu, or Simbu, tribe from the Central Highlands of Papua New Guinea, really knows how to catch your attention and respect. They're famous for their fearless warrior spirit and eye-catching body art. One of the coolest things they do is their skeleton dance. The warriors cover themselves in white clay and ash to look like skeletons, a strategy they originally used to scare their enemies and show off their skills in psychological warfare. Historically, the Chimbu have been right in the thick of tribal conflicts, often fighting intense battles over land and resources. These clashes are fierce, showcasing their renowned strength and fighting skills, essentials for surviving and thriving in the tough mountainous areas they live in. When it comes to their everyday life, the Chimbu mainly depend on farming. Sweet potatoes are a big part of their diet and really important to them. Pigs are also crucial, not just as food but as part of their ceremonial traditions and as symbols of wealth and status within the tribe. Number 19. The Mursi. In the Omo Valley of southwestern Ethiopia, the Mursi people have a unique tradition among their women that involves wearing large lip plates. This practice is a big part of their culture and is seen as a symbol of beauty and status. The process starts with a cut in the lower lip, and then gradually they insert larger and larger plates, sometimes up to 12 centimeters across. This tradition isn't just for looks, it's a crucial part of becoming an adult and plays a major role in marriage arrangements, even affecting the dowry discussions. The Mursi are also known for being quite protective of their territory, and they sometimes get into violent disputes over important things like land for grazing and water sources. The men often carry AK-47s, which they've gotten through trading cattle, and they use these to defend their animals and settle scores. Their warrior nature is summed up in their saying, "It's better to die than live without killing," which really shows their fierce mindset. When it comes to dealing with tourists, the Mursi have a mix of curiosity and caution, which sometimes leads to misunderstandings and even conflicts. Number 18. The Maasai. The Maasai, a semi-nomadic people from Kenya and northern Tanzania, are another group well known for their warrior reputation. They are famous across Africa for their bravery and skill in battle, and warfare is a big part of their culture. Their society is organized around what's called the warrior age group system. In this system, young men, known as Morans, go through tough training and take part in ancient rituals to become protectors of their communities. The Maasai's way of living mainly revolves around their livestock, especially cattle, which they highly value. They get meat, milk, and even blood from their cattle, which are essential parts of their diet and also crucial to their economy and social setup. You can spot them easily by their bright red clothing, intricate beadwork, and the adumu, their famous jumping dance that showcases their rich cultural heritage. Despite the modern world creeping in and government pressures to give up their nomadic life, the Maasai hold tightly to their traditions. However, they face big challenges. For example, their grazing lands are being taken over by national parks and game reserves, which threatens their way of life. Plus, they deal with health issues like malaria and cholera, made worse by limited access to clean water and healthcare facilities. Number 17. The Naga. A group known as the Naga, who live in the tough terrains of northeastern India and parts of Myanmar, are divided into over 20 different tribes, including the Konyak, Angami, and Ao. Historically, the Nagas are famous for being incredible warriors, and one of their most intense traditions was headhunting. Yeah, they used to chop off their enemies' heads. This was a way for them to show their strength and courage, and it was a big part of their community and spiritual life until it stopped in the 20th century. Among these tribes, the Konyak were the most feared headhunters. They would get tattoos on their faces as symbols of their victories in battles. These tattoos are still seen today, and they're a powerful reminder of their intense past. Even though they don't practice headhunting anymore, the Naga people still have a strong warrior spirit and really stand up for their land and traditions. Their relationship with the government of India has been quite rocky. They've been in a lot of conflicts because they want to keep their unique identity and have more control over their own area. This strong will can be seen in their amazing cultural traditions. They're awesome at weaving, skilled in wood carving, and they host the vibrant Hornbill Festival. Number 16. Cargo Cult. There's this tribe that people often get wrong called the Cargo Cults, and they popped up in places like Vanuatu in Melanesia, especially during and after World War II. The gist of their belief is pretty fascinating. They think that if they follow certain rituals and behaviors they saw from Western soldiers and colonizers, their ancestral spirits or some divine beings will reward them with loads of material wealth, which they call cargo. One of the most famous of these groups is the John Frum movement on the island of Tanna in Vanuatu. They actually worship a character named John Frum, who they imagine as an American soldier. The followers are super committed, believing that John Frum will come back one day, loaded with treasures and goods. They even hold military-like parades, raise flags, and build symbolic airstrips to welcome him and the expected cargo. The term cargo cult might sound a bit dismissive, and it's often been used that way. but it really highlights how these sudden brushes with advanced technology and loads of wealth from the West deeply impacted these isolated folks. More than just expecting magical deliveries, these cargo cults are also about standing up to outside control and keeping their own traditions alive. Even now, the John Frum movement is still going strong. Every February 15th, they celebrate John Frum Day, showing just how deeply they hold onto their beliefs and cultural identity. Number 15. The Karubo. In the Amazon rainforest, there is a tribe that has become the center of attraction, known as the Karubo. They are often referred to as Clubber Indians due to their use of large war clubs. They live in the thick and hard-to-reach Javari Valley in Brazil, and they really don't like outsiders. They've had a history of fighting back fiercely whenever someone tries to invade their space. Their desire to be left alone really caught the world's attention thanks to Sidney Pozuelo, a Brazilian explorer. He worked hard to protect them from the outside world, fighting for their right to live without disturbance. Despite his efforts, the Karubo have had some intense fights with loggers and settlers who've tried to take over their land. This one time in 1997 when a Karubo warrior named Tavan actually killed a worker from Brazil's National Indian Foundation because they were threatening his homeland. The Karubo are known for being masters with their war clubs and are quite wary of strangers, which makes them one of the most daunting tribes in the Amazon. They live a kind of half-nomadic life, moving around and living in large communal huts, and they rely on the land for food, growing crops, and hunting. Number 14. The Altai Kazakhs. The Altai Kazakhs, also known as the Kazakh eagle hunters, reside in the towering Altai Mountains of Western Mongolia. These semi-nomadic folks have made a name for themselves worldwide with their incredible eagle hunting skills. This isn't just a hobby for them, it's a deep cultural practice that's been handed down through generations. They train golden eagles to hunt down prey, which is not only a show of bravery, but also a sign of their deep bond with these majestic birds. Living in such stark and rugged landscapes has shaped the Altai Kazakhs into tough warriors with a rich history of defending their lands. They're also excellent horse riders and take part in traditional sports like kokbar, which is kind of like polo but way more intense because they use a goat carcass instead of a ball. This sport tests their strength and smart strategies and helps keep their warrior culture alive, ensuring they can survive and hold on to their traditions in the face of modern-day challenges. Despite their tough exterior, the Altai Kazakhs are known for their hospitality and community spirit. Their way of life includes making beautiful things out of leather, textiles, and jewelry, reflecting their respect for nature and their strong cultural identity. Number 13. The Batak Tribe. Very few might have heard of the Batak tribe, who live up in the mountains of Palawan in the Philippines. And to the few who might have heard, sometimes they get the wrong idea about them, thinking they're dangerous because they live off the grid and stick to their old ways. But in reality, the Batak are super peaceful folks. There are only about 300 of them left, which sadly makes them one of the most endangered tribes in that area. Their lives are really connected to the forest. They hunt, gather, and do a bit of farming to get by, but they're facing some huge problems. Their home, the forest, is getting destroyed by illegal logging, people taking over their land, and just too much tree cutting. This extends beyond just changing their environment, it's threatening their whole way of life. On top of that, they deal with some serious health problems like malaria and tuberculosis, and it's tough for them to get medical help. Despite all these tough breaks, the Batak tribe is known for being super welcoming. They work hard to keep their culture alive. People who visit them talk about how friendly they are and how they get to see the tribe's unique traditions and knowledge. Number 12. The Waorani Tribe. The Waorani tribe, living deep in the Ecuadorian Amazon rainforest, really stands out for their strong desire to live apart from others and their fierce fighting spirit. They're amazing hunters, known for their incredible skill with blowguns and poison darts. They use these not just for hunting, but also to protect their lush green home from anyone trying to enter without permission. Their strong dislike for outside influence really became clear in the 1950s during their first run-ins with Christian missionaries, which unfortunately ended in violent conflicts. The Waorani saw these outsiders as a big threat to their traditional way of life, so they reacted with a lot of hostility to defend their culture. Over the years, this tough stance has continued, especially against oil companies looking to drill in their land. These standoffs have really cemented the Waorani's reputation as fearless protectors of their territory, always ready to fight against any sort of outside interference. Number 11. The Chukchi. Another tribe known for their combativeness is the Chukchi, who are from the Chukotka Peninsula, way up in northeastern Siberia, Russia. These folks are known for their strong fighting spirit against anyone trying to invade their land. The Chukchi are split into two main groups, the Chavchu, who herd reindeer inland, and the Ankalin, who hunt sea mammals along the coast. Both groups are super tough, living and thriving in one of the coldest, harshest places on Earth. Back in the 17th and 18th centuries, the Chukchi really made a name for themselves because they fiercely fought off the Russians, who tried to take over their land. They had some intense battles with the Russian Cossacks, showing incredible bravery and strategic smarts. These fights were brutal, with lots of losses on both sides, but they really showed how determined the Chukchi were to keep their independence. Even today, with all the modern changes and economic pressures, the Chukchi are sticking to their traditional ways like reindeer herding and hunting sea mammals. They've also kept their shamanistic beliefs and practices, which really shows their deep connection to nature and the spiritual world. Number 10. The Himba. Deep in the arid Kunene region of northern Namibia, you'll find the Himba people. This semi-nomadic tribe is known for their striking appearance, thanks to their unique practice of covering their skin and hair with a mixture of butterfat and red ochre, called ochres. This not only gives their skin a reddish hue, but also protects them from the harsh desert sun and insects. The Himba live in small villages of cone-shaped huts made from mud, branches, and cattle dung, reflecting their ability to thrive in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. The Himba's way of life is centered around their cattle, which are a vital part of their economy and culture. These animals are more than just livestock, they are symbols of wealth and social status, and their milk forms a crucial part of the Himba diet. Despite their apparent isolation, the Himba have shown resilience in maintaining their customs amidst pressures from modernization and climate change. Their ceremonies and rituals, such as the Afundula, a coming-of-age ceremony for girls, are deeply rooted in their connection to their ancestors and their land. Interestingly, the Himba have their own way of handling governance and disputes through a traditional system led by a chief and elder council, which is deeply respected within their community. Their adherence to traditional law and social norms helps preserve their cultural identity in a rapidly changing world. Number 9. The Suri. Living in the southwestern region of Ethiopia, the Suri tribe, also known as the Surma, are formidable not just because of their warrior culture, but also due to their striking body modifications. The Suri are known for the donga, or stick fighting, a ritualized combat sport that serves both as a rite of passage for young men and a method for settling disputes. These fights are intense, often resulting in serious injuries, and are a testament to the Suri's valor and physical prowess. Suri women are distinguished by their practice of inserting large lip plates into their lower lips, a custom that starts at puberty. This tradition is believed to enhance beauty and signal social maturity and readiness for marriage. The size of the lip plate can affect a woman's dowry, making it an important aspect of social status and negotiation. Beyond their striking appearance, the Suri are also known for their vibrant and intricate body painting, using natural pigments. This art form is not just for aesthetic purposes, but is deeply tied to their rituals and cultural expressions. The Suri's way of life revolves around cattle herding and agriculture, and they place immense value on their herds, often engaging in conflicts with neighboring tribes over grazing rights and water sources. Number 8. The Dani. Nestled in the remote highlands of Papua, Indonesia, the Dani tribe is known for their fierce warrior culture and intriguing practices. They have a history of intertribal warfare, traditionally fought with bows, arrows, and spears. These conflicts were often about resources, revenge, or social status, and they would sometimes result in ritualized ceremonies where peace was negotiated through complex social exchanges. One of the most notable customs of the Dani is the practice of finger cutting, known as ikapalan, which women undergo as a way of mourning the death of close family members. Each joint of the finger that is removed represents a different family member, serving as a visible sign of their grief and loss. The Dani live in small, fortified villages with round huts known as honai, made of thatch and wood. They are skilled farmers, cultivating sweet potatoes, which are a staple in their diet, along with raising pigs. The Dani also have a unique method of mummifying their dead, using smoke and herbs, which they then display in ceremonial events to honor their ancestors. Despite their warlike reputation, the Dani have a rich culture of dance, music, and elaborate rituals, including the mock battles they perform for tourists today, which have helped them adapt to the modern world while preserving their traditions. Number 7. The Mentawai. Deep in the lush rainforests of the Mentawai Islands off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, live the Mentawai people, renowned for their deep spiritual connection to the natural world and their unique cultural practices. The Mentawai are traditionally semi-nomadic, relying on hunting, gathering, and swidden agriculture, slash-and-burn farming for their subsistence. Central to Mentawai culture are their UMA, traditional houses, which serve as communal spaces for multiple families. These houses are built on stilts and have distinct architectural features, reflecting the Mentawai's harmonious relationship with their environment. Spirituality plays a vital role in Mentawai life, with beliefs centered around the Sikare, spiritual leaders who serve as mediators between humans and the spirit world. The Sikarai undergo rigorous training and rituals to develop their supernatural powers, which they use for healing, divination, and maintaining spiritual balance within the community. One of the most distinctive aspects of Mentawai culture is their body art, characterized by intricate tattoos and body modifications. Tattoos are not merely decorative but are imbued with spiritual significance, marking milestones in a person's life and symbolizing their connection to ancestors and spirits. In recent years, the Mentawai have faced challenges from deforestation, modernization, and outside influences that threaten their traditional way of life and ecological balance. Efforts are underway to preserve Mentawai culture and support sustainable practices that respect their spiritual beliefs and environmental stewardship. Number 6. The Huaorani. In the dense Amazon rainforest of Ecuador, the Huaorani, or Waorani, are notorious for their fierce independence and skills as hunters. Known for their exceptional prowess with blowguns and spears, they traditionally hunted monkeys, birds, and other small game in their vast and remote territory. Their name, Huaorani, means the people in their language, reflecting their deep connection to their land and way of life. The Huaorani have a history of resisting outside influence, often with violent encounters. They first came into contact with the outside world in the mid-20th century, which led to significant changes in their society due to the influx of missionaries and oil companies. These encounters were frequently marked by conflict, as the Huaorani fiercely defended their territory from what they saw as intrusions and threats to their traditional way of life. One of the most famous stories involving the Huaorani is the killing of 5 American missionaries in 1956, an event that drew global attention to the tribe. This incident highlighted the intense resistance of the Huaorani to outsiders and underscored the challenges of cultural contact in remote areas. Despite the pressures of modernization, the Huaorani continue to practice their traditional customs and advocate for their rights to their ancestral lands, navigating the delicate balance between preserving their culture and engaging with the broader world. Number 5. The Dogon. High in the cliffs of central Mali, the Dogon people are renowned for their intricate mythology and remarkable astronomical knowledge, which has puzzled and fascinated researchers for decades. The Dogon are famous for their elaborate masked dances, which are a central part of their cultural and religious rituals. These ceremonies, including the Sigwe, held every 60 years, are significant for their connection to the Dogon's complex belief systems and their relationship with the cosmos. One of the most intriguing aspects of Dogon culture is their knowledge of the Sirius star system. Long before the advent of modern telescopes, the Dogon described Sirius as a binary star system with an invisible companion star, known as Sirius B. This knowledge has sparked debates about the origins of their astronomical understanding, with some suggesting ancient contact with advanced civilizations, or the possible influence of earlier astronomers. The Dogon live in villages built into the cliffs, which provide natural fortification against invaders. They are skilled agriculturalists, cultivating millet, sorghum, and onions on the rocky slopes. Their social organization is deeply rooted in kinship and communal ties, and their art and architecture reflect a deep connection to their environment and spiritual beliefs. Number 4. The Kogi. In the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta Mountains of Colombia, the Kogi tribe is often seen as the guardians of the earth. The Kogi, who refer to themselves as the Elder Brothers, live in isolation and follow a spiritual path that revolves around the belief that they are the protectors of the world, tasked with maintaining its ecological balance. They see modern civilization as the younger brothers, who have lost their way and are harming the planet. The Kogi society is guided by their spiritual leaders, known as Mamos, who undergo years of training in isolation to acquire deep spiritual and ecological knowledge. The Mamos play a crucial role in mediating between the physical and spiritual worlds, offering guidance on how to live in harmony with nature. Kogi villages are composed of circular huts made from local materials, and their agricultural practices are meticulously planned to align with their spiritual beliefs. They cultivate crops such as cassava, corn, and bananas, and use sophisticated techniques to manage their environment sustainably. The Kogi have garnered international attention for their environmental message, emphasizing the need for humans to reconnect with the natural world and heed the warnings of ecological imbalance. Their efforts to communicate this message include allowing filmmakers to document their lives and beliefs, which they previously kept secret. Number 3. The Tsatan. In the remote regions of northern Mongolia, the Tsatan, or Duka, people are one of the last nomadic reindeer herding communities in the world. Living in the taiga, or boreal forest, the Tsatan have a unique lifestyle centered around their reindeer, which they rely on for transportation, milk, and as a source of cultural identity. The reindeer are deeply integrated into every aspect of their life, from their diet to their rituals and folklore. The Tsatan move frequently with the seasons, following their herds to ensure they have access to the best grazing lands. They live in portable tents called orts, which are similar to the yurts used by other Mongolian nomads, and their mobility allows them to adapt to the harsh conditions of their environment. Reindeer herding requires a deep knowledge of the land and the animals, and the Tsatan are skilled in navigating the challenges of their remote and rugged terrain. Their traditional knowledge and practices are crucial for the survival of their reindeer herds and their way of life. Despite their isolation, the Tsatan face increasing pressures from modernization, including changes in their environment and challenges to their nomadic lifestyle. Efforts to preserve their unique culture and support sustainable herding practices are crucial for the survival of this ancient way of life. Number 2. The Maasai. The Maasai of Kenya and Tanzania are among the most recognized tribes in Africa, known for their distinctive customs, dress, and connection to the savanna. Their society is traditionally semi-nomadic, with a lifestyle centered around cattle herding. Cattle are not just a source of sustenance, but are integral to the Maasai's cultural and social structure, symbolizing wealth, status, and identity. Maasai warriors, known as Moran, undergo rigorous training and initiation rituals, including lion hunting, now largely symbolic, and elaborate ceremonies. The transition from youth to warrior to elder is marked by these rituals, which are crucial to the social fabric of the Maasai community. Their age-set system governs social responsibilities and leadership, ensuring a well-structured and cohesive society. The Maasai are also known for their distinctive red shukas, cloaks, elaborate beadwork, and high-jumping dances. Their villages, or maniatas, are composed of circular enclosures made from acacia thorns, mud, and dung, providing protection for both people and livestock. In recent years, the Maasai have faced challenges from land encroachment and climate change, which threaten their traditional grazing lands. Despite these challenges, they continue to advocate for their rights and seek ways to integrate modern education and healthcare. Number 1. The Yanomami. In the dense Amazon rainforest spanning the border between Venezuela and Brazil, the Yanomami are one of the largest relatively isolated tribes in South America. They live in large communal houses called chabonos, which are open structures made from palm leaves and wood, reflecting their communal and cooperative way of life. Each chabono can house multiple families, fostering a strong sense of community and shared responsibility. The Yanomami have a reputation for being fierce warriors, with a history of inter-village warfare driven by competition for resources, revenge, and social status. These conflicts are often ritualized and involve complex social and spiritual dimensions, including the practice of reahu, endocannibalism, where the ashes of the deceased are consumed in a sacred ritual to maintain their connection to the living. Hunting, fishing, and gardening are central to the Yanomami's subsistence, and they have an extensive knowledge of the rainforest's flora and fauna, which they use for food, medicine, and tools. Their shamanistic practices involve the use of hallucinogenic plants, like yopo, to communicate with the spiritual world and seek guidance for their community. The Yanomami's isolation has made them vulnerable to external threats, including disease and illegal mining, which have had devastating impacts on their population and environment. Efforts to protect their rights and lands are ongoing, highlighting the need to balance their autonomy with the pressures of the modern world.